Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us today for this Advanced Capabilities with SAP Web Intelligence webinar. My name is Caroline Wright. I'm the Marketing Manager for CCG. I want to go ahead and give you a quick introduction into our company and then hand things over to Kevin Van Doren to get the webinar started. We are CCG. We're an award-winning consulting firm and SAP partner. We specialize in helping companies to increase performance through advanced analytic solutions. As you can see from this slide, we're very proud of the accomplishments we've achieved, but we're most proud of the team of business-minded technologists that led us to these awards. We're headquartered out of Tampa Bay, but operate throughout the US with a handful of international clients as well. Not to sound cliche, but we eat, sleep, and breathe business intelligence. As you can see, aside from being an SAP partner, we have the breadth of knowledge across all leading Gartner Magic Quadrant analytic and data management vendor solutions. We specialize in helping organizations to navigate the BI realm to establish the best fit architecture for their business. Here's a quick slide just to give you an overview of some of the areas where we can help our customers, from business applications, enterprise analytics, and information management. I'll now hand things over to Kevin Van Doren to get things started. Kevin?
Thanks, Caroline. Let me say thank you in advance for taking part of your business day to attend this webinar. Before we get started, let me tell you a bit about myself. My name is Kevin Van Doren, and I've been in the BI workspace for, well, around 15 years. Yes, that means I've been involved in data visualizations before it was cool. I've been working closely with the SAP Business Objects Analytics solution for about 12 years, and I have expertise in semantic layer design, administration, well, and of course, analytics. My industry experience is about as broad as it can get, from consumer packaged goods to government to transportation, manufacturing, high finance, public education, and pharmaceuticals. But I want to focus on specific 8 years, those 8 years where I managed the enterprise BI architecture of a state department of transportation. Now, I arrived in 2005 with the goal of installing Business Objects XI and transforming a printed report culture to a self-service BI platform, and doing that almost single-handedly. I could spend a whole seminar on how we went from 5 pilot users to 5,000 users in just a few short years. And obviously, there was immense collaboration with the database team, where we went from like 75 crystal reports and who knows how many Access databases and Excel spreadsheets to more than 3,000 regularly used enterprise reports. And while that may seem like an excessive amount of reports, it spanned over 50 enterprise applications. And these applications covered things from, say, asset management, bridge inspections, accounting, finance, human resources, contract management, construction project management, help desk, and more than I can possibly remember. And of course, during this time, we had a bare-bones staff and an even smaller budget. But it didn't stop us. What I can say is I understand the pain of having to deliver high quality content in large volumes with limited resources. The thing is that my strategy has always been and will always be to empower end users, because IT could not possibly support this endeavor alone. So our first strategy was to train power users throughout the organization to perform their own analysis, and this ended up being wildly successful. This was a key factor in achieving user acceptance, as we made the users part of the process instead of making IT the enemy. So when I tell you that I'm keenly aware of the real-world resource constraints and restraints that you are facing every day, you should know that I'm not just spouting industry jargon. So what are we going to cover today? Well, we're going to discuss some overall dashboard concepts. We're going to quickly compare the strengths and weaknesses of some of the common visualization tools. We'll discuss some use cases for web intelligence. We'll do a quick tour of our dashboard we've created using web intelligence, and then we're going to take a look under the hood and show you how to create some of these analytics that are in the dashboard. So what is the definition of a dashboard? Well, here's a pretty good definition given by Stephen Few. It says that a dashboard is a visual display of the most important information needed to achieve one or more objectives, consolidated and arranged on a single screen, so the information can be monitored at a glance. So let's look at the important features there. The most important information should jump out at you. It also should have an objective. Your dashboard should tell a story. And of course it should be on a screen. If you're having to scroll up and down, side to side, it's not a dashboard, or tab to tab. It's not a dashboard at that point. Now, according to me, a collection of loosely related analytics, no matter how pretty, is not a dashboard. Now, it may be a report, it might be individual analytics, but to call it a dashboard would be incorrect. Now, the last thing I would say here, the correct visualizations are important. So in here we have Dilbert saying, I didn't have anything useful to say, so I made a pie chart, and it made everybody impressed. But the reality is, we don't just throw out analytics just for the sake of analytics. Well, let's dig a little deeper into the characteristics of a dashboard. So, as per Stephen Few, all of the visualizations should fit on a single screen. If you have to scroll anyway, it violates the definition of a dashboard. It shows the most important performance indicators and measures right up front. They should be front and center. It should not only show those performance indicators, don't make it like an idiot light, but you should also have the ability to dig deeper, do further analysis into the underperformers, and to show why they are underperforming. Your dashboard should be interactive in nature, allowing the user to filter and drill down or drill across to additional information. It may drill out to a more detailed report. And it's not designed just for executives. It should be available for whoever has access to the data. It needs to be easy to use and easy to understand. The data should be relevant. It should be at best or worst updated daily. If it's year-old stale data, it's a useless dashboard, so why even have it as a dashboard? Let's talk a little bit about data visualization tools. Now, I will say these are a welcome trend in the world of BI. They're graphically rich, and they should be embraced to help the end user to better visualize and understand their data. Now, these visualization tools can sometimes be used in mashups to create, dashboard-like applications, as long as you don't have crazy requirements. But unfortunately, as you know, and I'm sure you're well aware, in the business world, the requirements are always crazy. So if you have rigorous requirements, these data visualization tools don't necessarily meet the needs. And then say you have a third-party visualization tool you're using, say for example Tableau. As of right now, they do not have direct connection to your semantic layer or maybe your enterprise data. So now you're going to have to do more work to either port that data to that tool or maybe craft some sort of API to get data to there in an automated fashion. Well, here's an example of SAP Lumira showing a superhero analysis. Now, these are very attractive visualizations, and you can do some sort of drilling into, or getting down to individual superheroes. In this case, you can see like a summary to a detail type level of drilling. However, there are several areas where it still falls short. For one thing, there's no dynamic visibility available. You're not able to use cross-component interaction. So in other words, I can't filter on one analytic using another analytic. So in short, it's really not flexible enough to function as a true dashboard. Well, let's discuss dedicated dashboard tools. Now this would be, say, SAP Dashboards, which is formerly Excelsius, or SAP Design Studio. So all I can say about this is, hey, welcome to a world of single-purpose application development tools where your developers love to write script, oh yeah, and lots of it, and spend enormous man-hours building, well, mediocre content. Also, welcome to a world where that encyclopedia of script will have to be resurrected for every small change requested by the business. Oh, hey, and while we're on the subject of single-purpose tools, I would venture to say that most of you would enjoy a good hot dog, but I would find it hard to believe that you would rush out to purchase a device that was dedicated to that one food. And how excited would you be to pay for the annual maintenance for this application that you rarely use? Hey, do you like pancakes? Well, put away those old frying pans. This device is round and flat. Well, kind of like your frying pan, but hey, it comes in red. Now, I'm kind of making light of this, but in reality, I think there's a pretty good analogy here. We already have, tools to do some analytics, but here we have dedicated dashboard tools, which, requiring additional software, potentially more developers or more training for your developers, and more requirements for resources. Maybe you need to have extra SDLC requirements, more documentation, etc. And so what you find is you have multiple tools to do very similar jobs. Now, with the transition of SAP Dashboards to SAP Design Studio, there has been some pushback from the developers, and it's not just the inside SAP world that's getting this. We're also seeing some third-party vendors capitalizing on this. And this is directly from a competitor website where they're saying what SAP dashboard designers need is a new tool that blends the ease of SAP dashboards with enterprise strength data management that has been optimized for the mobile world. But I'm going to tell you, there is a tool that already does that. We don't need a new tool to do this. I'm going to suggest that we would use Web Intelligence as an existing multi-purpose tool that already has all the semantic layer and the security built into it. Alright, let's talk about some use cases that we might want to use for using Web Intelligence as your tool to create dashboards. Now, alright, starting off, you might have your data is already available in a universe, so obviously Web Intelligence can do that. You have data stored in a spreadsheet. It's definitely a data source available for Web Intelligence. And actually, at the time of this webinar, Design Studio cannot consume Excel spreadsheets as a data source. You might need row level security. Again, that's universe driven. You might need it to be scheduled. Your dashboard is scheduled and posted as PDF somewhere or Excel. Well, that's only going to be available in Web Intelligence. Another great I use for Web Intelligence as a dashboard tool is just for prototyping. Maybe you've got a bigger project in mind, but this gives you a way to quickly display your data and get your test cases in place. Another thing about Web Intelligence is it can handle large volumes of data, and as I said, right now both SAP Dashboards and Design Studio are very limited in the amount of data they can consume. You need your analytics to behave as filters for others, cross-component usage, and again, Web Intelligence can do that. I'm going to show you how to do that. Complex business rules is another item there. Now, as you think of that as an application concept, or in this case, I think Web Intelligence actually handles it a little better. I'm thinking of creating variables and using those variables in charts and graphs. As of right now, Design Studio is not able to do that. They can do it in text analytics, but not in charts and graphs. Again, we talked about not needing extra training or additional personnel. That's great for Web Intelligence. And it needs to be PC and mobile available. Web Intelligence at this time can do that. Alright, well, let's talk about some specific advantages that Web Intelligence has for use as a dashboard. Alright, so first of all, I think you'll notice as we go through the demo, it is highly interactive, as a dashboard should be. You have full access to all of the BO universe features, and that's all, whether it be UNV, UNX, multi-source, BW, no matter what source you need to go to, you can do that with Web Intelligence, which, again, not all the tools can do that. You can do it fully with a web client, no desktop client required. Of course, you can use Excel, multiple data sources, you can merge data sources. The formula variable builder is very simple to use, and I've got rich analytic formatting in here. And what I mean by that is, Lumira has a lot more visualizations. so it's a lot of quantity. But in some cases where you need to be more specific on how you format those analytics, Web Intelligence actually gives you a little bit better engine for doing that. The visualizations are attractive, they're effective. There's not all of them there yet, but more are coming very soon. We've got geospatial coming, we've got gauges coming, and within the very soon the next release. I mean, just right around the corner. Scheduling and bursting. You can export to PDF, and Excel. One big selling point also is the ability to store all of your data in the report itself, in the report cube. And what's nice about that, you're not having to go back to the database every time you put a filter on. You can also do it in a single query. In this case, we're going to show a very complex or capable dashboard, and we're going to do it all in one query. And also the ability to put your web parts on the SAP BI workspace. Well, I think that's enough talk. Let's go ahead and dig into the demo. So I'll go ahead and log into Launchpad, and I'll launch our margin analysis dashboard. Now, if you go to our CCG BI YouTube channel, I have created a video on touring this dashboard. So it's already out there in case you need to go back and see it again. I show most of the features that are on this. But let's go ahead and dive into this. So we have, right up front, we have our text analytics, our summary analytics. We will show revenue, order quantity, gross margin, margin percent. I have very similar information by country. And for this, we're using the AdventureWorks data mart that we were using as a demo for another client. So it was a nice transition to this dashboard. We also have volume by margin group. Here's how we created thresholds for margin levels, and we showed volume by those groups in sales. And then we did the same thing by month in the chart below that, this stack column chart. Here we have our bottom 5 resellers and bottom 5 products, and then we have a product mix using a tree map to show that. Now, so we'll go ahead and show some interactivity here. If I want to click on road bikes, you can see how the whole dashboard gets modified. So you can see the margin percent changed, all the countries changed, and then the resellers and the products that are then available or reflect what we selected as road bikes. We can reset that. I also have the ability to say pick a country, and I highlighted there, it says navigate to Australia. So I'll click that, and it will launch a detailed report using Open Document outside. So that's our drill across to another report right from the application. So it makes it very interactive. Going even further, we have our input controls that we can expose here. And one thing that's nice to be able to do is to show what your business rules are. And don't necessarily always want to take up the real estate. What I've done is created a toggle for showing tips. So if I select that and click yes, now you can see what your definitions of high, medium, and low margin are. You can see the complex business rules that are with the the bottom 5 sellers and products, that they're at least 0.5% of the total volume. And then you can see what how these icons are identified of high margin, medium margin, low margin. So we have a KPI table there. So I can reset that. I might also want to see various ways of viewing the data. So in this case, we see this country KPI as tabular. Perhaps you might want to see that as a bar chart. So I can select that using the input control and change that to a bar chart, and you can see how far away you are from the goal. I can do the same thing with the volume trend. I can make that a margin trend by month. And for my product mix, I can change that from a tree map to a table. So we just get some different views of the same data, a little bit more detailed view. Now, if I also, again, I can use this as a filter. I can use this and select Australia, and we see that they're at 28% margin. Not very good. But what I can do is, I can do some more analysis, and I can see, all right, touring bikes and touring frames are my lowest margin. So I actually have another input control down here where I can exclude subcategories. So let's exclude touring bikes and touring frames and click OK, and then you'll be able to see the margin percent went up, the resellers and everything changed accordingly. So I'll reset that, and then we have another input control for the actual categories. So now I can actually say I pick clothing, and then I can see the subcategories are associated with clothing and everything else. So you can see you have lots of interactivity. You can go lots of different directions with this analysis. Now I'm going to go show a couple more features that are not necessarily on this dashboard, but on the tab next to it. And this is called Sales Trend. And to me, this is not a dashboard; it's a report because it doesn't have any goals. And also, we may end up having to scroll a little bit here. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So if I select this table here, we actually have some bookmarks or outline type information here. So I can actually expand within that data, and then I can expand again and see within Queensland those. So I can undo and undo again and get back where I was. Also, I can even go across time. So if I select this table and hit that outline, I can see it by month. And now I'm off the screen. It's more than one screen, so it's no longer a dashboard by that definition. All right, and I can expand this way as well. So we can see accessories and all the subcategories within that. So I just kind of want to show a few more features. All of these are available within the Web Intelligence. It's a hybrid tool. It works both as a reporting tool, which is what it was originally created for, but can also create some pretty impressive dashboards. All right, so that's going to conclude the tour. Let's go ahead and create our own dashboard. So I've got a report here that I've already started. It just has a query in it. So I'm going to modify that, and that's going to open it up in the Java Applet viewer. And the reason I'm using the Java Applet in this case is only for the conditional formatting. And then not in this version, but I think in an upcoming version they're going to be supporting just about everything in the HTML version. But in this case, it's just one or two features that you need to have the Java applet to use. So I'm modifying this. This takes a couple extra seconds to open up since it is Java. But there we are. So we have this report already created, but all it has is the query created. So first of all, I'll show you what's in the query. All right, I've got year, month. So I've got some time features in here, the month name, state, city, store name, lines, category. Then I've got some measures: sales revenue, quantity sold, and margin. I've got a prompt for the year. I'm picking sales revenue not equal to 0, so I'm not getting in divided by 0 errors. We could do it in a formula on the report, but this is just a quick way to handle it. And I've got a prompt for month. So let's go ahead and run that. In this case, I've picked 2006 in the first 6 months. We'll click OK. And we've got our data back. All right, so I've also went ahead and pre-created some variables, and I'm going to show you each one of them just to save time. So initially, we'll go ahead and grab volume that I've created, which is nothing but the renaming of quantity sold to a simpler term called volume. So there's the first one. Then revenue is sales revenue, just called revenue. Gross margin was margin, I've called gross margin. The next thing I've done is created a margin percent, which is gross margin divided by revenue, and this would give you your decimal value, but I also want to have it in more of a whole value, so I created another variable called margin percent that uses the percentage sign, and what I'm doing is taking that original variable and multiplying it by 100. So using those variables, I'm going to create our first analytic, or text analytic. So if you remember what this one was kind of like, we'll go back and show you we'll kind of create this kind of concept. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and add a table. And I'm not going to do a whole lot of formatting here just to save time. But we'll go ahead and we'll pick our first measure is volume. And we'll just select that, just one column. Alright, we'll do a little bit of formatting here. We'll select here and here and center it. Make our text black and the background white. Let's get rid of our borders and give it a little bit more room. It's going to expand it out a little bit. Alright, then we'll bring in revenue next to that. And let's just put a border around the whole table. A black border. There we go. And let's just put a border on one side here. We'll format the cell, border, again, plain, medium, it's black. Excellent. Got that there, and then just copy that format down below. Make this bold also. Alright, and then we'll copy this table and paste it right below. The idea would be we're going to take margin, our gross margin, drop it in pretty quick, pretty easy, nothing really difficult there. Alright, the next thing I did is I created some more variables, and what I wanted to do is use variables as targets. So I have a high target. Remember our high margin, everything above 45 is high margin. So all I've done is create margin target high equals 45. I've got margin target medium equals 35. So within that I created a margin group. Under margin group, very simply, is if our margin percent is greater than our high target, then we're going to call it display high margin. If it's between high and medium, we're going to display medium margin. If it's less than the medium margin, we're going to call it low margin. Very straightforward, yes? Alright, so using that information, we're going to go ahead and create a donut chart. So we'll grab here, under report elements, drag the donut, and then we'll use margin group and volume as our two items. So there we go. We can see we have nice margin groups. Let's do just a little bit of formatting. Let's see. We're not going to need the legend here because we're going to display it on the data itself. So we'll go to data values and we'll do label and percent. I want it to be on more than one line. It can be black. I'm going to give a text of size, font of 7. See what that looks like. We'll apply that. Looks pretty good. Alright, now the next thing I want to do is kind of go with our color scheme, right? So I'm going to go to the palette and style. And I'm going to scroll up to our color palette, and I'm going to go down to custom, and I think I'll grab green. That'll be our first color. Select new, and I'll call this margin group. This is the palette that'll go with the margin group. Our first color will be green. That'll be the equivalent of high margin. The next one will be red, because that's going to be equivalent to low margin. And the thing about when you're using dimensions like this, it's just going to go alphabetically. And then the third one will be yellow. So we have green for high, red for low, medium is yellow. Click OK, OK again, and then we'll hit apply, and then we can see, we've got our colors. Pretty straightforward. Let's resize this a little bit so it'll fit here nicely. let's use that same process and create a stack column chart. We'll drop that right there. Here we'll go right click and assign data. So let's do this by month name, and then we'll pick volume again as our measure, and our region color will be margin group, the same one we created earlier. And we have a little stack column chart by these groupings, but we want to go ahead and apply the same coloring scheme that we had in our first one. So we'll go up here to palette and style, down to custom, and pick margin group. Okay, and I'll go ahead, let's apply this and show what that looks like. Looks good. We can get rid of the legend. Let's get rid of some of the titles too. So we can get rid of the title for the category and the value. Alright, what you may notice here is that we've already got this formatted, that are sorted. Sometimes it doesn't sort automatically, but you can easily you can do some custom sorting if you need to. Alright, so that's there. Alright, well the next thing we want to do is add that KPI table by state. So we'll go ahead and create another table. Drop it here. We'll pick state, followed by revenue, followed by gross margin, and we'll pick margin percent. That's the decimal version. Very good. Make sure that's wide enough to fit. And we'll format that number as a decimal. Not bad. So now the next thing we need to do is we want to add this KPI symbol. So I'm going to insert a column. To the right and kind of size it up about where I want it. That's good. Now what I want to do is do some conditional formatting. So I'll select in this cell, go to Analysis, Conditional. I'm going to add a new rule. I'm going to call this rule icons. Alright, so we're going to analyze our margin percent object. And we'll select margin percent, and very much like our other rules, if it's greater than our high target, okay, that condition's set, we'll go ahead and format the cell, and we'll read it as image hyperlink. Now in this case, there's two ways you can do it. You can either get a file that's on the server, or you can just get an image URL. And for this, I've captured an image URL, so you can do it yourself without having to worry about what's on my server. So I'm going to grab this address here for my icon for a high margin. Grab that and go to the background, image from address, paste that value there. Let's see, it's kind of like that, and I'm going to make it stretch, so no matter what the size of the column or the cell is, it'll auto fit. Okay, that's the first one. Now we'll add another condition. And in this case, we're going to look at the same thing, the margin percent. And we're going to say if it's less than the target, high target, okay, If it's less than the high target, we'll hit plus, and if it's in the margin percent is greater than the medium target, that's what we want, then we'll format that. Again, reading is image hyperlink, go into background. This will grab our medium, or this warning icon, grab that, Control C, image from address, Control V, check that. Great. Stretch it. Okay. And then one more condition. We'll say if our margin percent is less than the medium target, hyperlink, background. There we go, grab that. Alright, that should about do it. So let's see what we get. So everything is coming up as medium margin, which is about accurate. Everything is between 35 and 45%. All right, well, that's good. So it's good time to maybe test this out a little bit. So let's go over to our donut chart, and I'm going to right click that and pick linking and select add element link. What I'm going to do is going to create a little input control. So we'll click next, and I'll make it work for the whole page body. So no matter what everything will get selected when I do that. So if I select red margin group, low margin, it's going to impact green, everything's going to become green. So looks like that's working the way we want it to. Alright, next we need to talk about some more variables. And I have some variables here created for high margin percent, low margin percent, and medium margin percent. Let's take a look at those. So if I edit high margin percent, what I'm saying is if the margin percent is greater than the high target, 45, then return the value for margin percent. Pretty straightforward. Alright, and the medium margin, similar, it's just between medium and high, and low margin being less than the medium target. Pretty straightforward, and that's basically how it works. We've created 3 measure objects that we'll be using on this column chart we're going to create. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll select more column charts, drop it right here, and pick a combined column line chart. So basically I'm going to have columns and lines. So we'll start off with state as our category, and we will pick low margin percent followed by medium margin percent, with next coming high margin percent. Then we will have high margin target, and then we'll do our medium margin target. We're going to actually display all of these on the chart and use a little bit of conditional formatting with this. So we'll select this, click OK, and you'll see it's kind of not what we want at first. We have all lines. So we'll need to do a little bit of modification here. So let's right click and format, and we're going to go to measure properties. So I want the first 3 to be bars, so the low, medium, and high to be bar charts, bar graph. The high target I want it to be a line, and the medium target I want it to be a line. So if I apply this, you can see it's starting to come together. We'll go to palette and style. I don't want to see lines. Very good. select data values. I want to go ahead and show those. I want them to be horizontal. Inside, we'll apply that. Not too bad. Let's get rid of that legend while we're at it. There we go. That's a little cleaner. Now all we need to do is apply our colors, right? It's a little bit different than the last one we did, because these are on the measures instead of the dimensions. So we'll go to again, palette and style, scroll down to custom. Let's start off with red, because red is going to be our first color for low margin. So we'll pick a new palette. We'll call this, we'll call it performance. All right, so the first color, we'll make it red. So that's low margin. The next one will be yellow for medium margin, followed by green for high margin. And then we've got two lines, so I'll make this one kind of a darker gray, and the next one a little bit lighter gray. Let's see what that looks like. So we hit OK and apply that. You can see everything's yellow that needs to be yellow, and we've got two lines there. I'll click OK. Very good. So we have one by state. Oh, let me get rid of some labels. So again, the category axis, we'll get rid of that title, and the value axis, we'll get rid of that title, and apply that. There we go. Just for quickness, I want one more chart just like this, except I want it by month. So I'm going to copy this, and move this over a little bit more, and then paste another one there. Room for all my analytics. Alright, so the next thing we'll do is for this one, we'll go ahead and right click and assign data. And instead of by state, I want to do it by month name. So we'll select that. There you go. So we now have two very similar charts, one by month, one by state. Very good. So you can see our high target is 45, our medium target is 35, and everything associated with it. Alright, so now what I want to do is I want to do a little bit of what-if analysis. So I'm going to go up and create another input control. So I'll click New, and I'm going to pick the high target, high percent target, click Next. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is do a little bit of what-if analysis. Since we have these nice variables here that are not technically hard-coded, we've defined them, but we actually have more than we can do with them. So I'm going to go up here and hit New Input Control. I'm going to select the target high, and we'll use a spinner method input control for a single value. I'll increment by 1. I'll select my default value as 45. Click Finish. Alright, so now we have this. So if I start clicking downward on this, let's pull this up a little bit. I go 44, 43, 42, 41. You can see this thing starting to get into the high margin that weren't there before by changing our range. Let's go ahead and reset that. And let's do the same thing with our medium margin. So we'll go New, Medium Margin, Next. Our default value will be 35. Click Finish. Now we can do the same thing. We can start moving up, and some of our reds will become, or yellows will become red. Boom. So you can see that you can actually do what-if analysis using this, which right now you are not unable to do with some of the other tools. So we'll reset that. Alright, so now we've got our what if analysis done. Now I want to do one more feature. I want to do some dynamic display. So let's go over to our variables. We're going to create a new variable. And I'm going to call this one select state view. So what I want to do is I want to choose between this table or this bar chart. So my default value is going to be table. Alright, going to be table. So we'll go back to our input controls. I'll select new and hit select state view. Alright, and our list of values. We already have table, but I'm going to add bar. Alright, so now we'll have two values. And we'll use radio button. I think we're good. So I've got table and bar. So now I've got my input control working. Now let's look at our table. So I'll right click this table, format it, and I'm going to use this hide when the following is true. So I will select that measure, that select state view, equals to, so I want it to only be hidden if I select bar. So I'll type in bar, click there, click OK, click OK again. Now if I select bar, which I've spelled incorrectly as BART, which is not going to work, so I need to go and modify this. To not BART, but bar. Guess spelling matters in this case. Okay, now it's bar. So if I select bar, yep, the table disappears. Just what I expect. Go down and do the same thing to this chart. We'll right click, format chart. We'll say hide when select state view equals table. And voila, it's gone. So I can toggle that back and forth. Bar, table. That's what I want. I'll tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and move this about where the table would be so they consume the same space approximately. There we go. Looks good. Alright, and we can do the same thing with this stack bar chart. We can, instead of by volume, we can do it by margin %. Let's do it. We'll go ahead and right click new variable. We'll do this select month view, and that by default will pick volume. Alright, let's go create new input control using that select month view. Radio button, just 3 there. Our list of values, we will select, we have already had volume, let's call the next one margin %. We don't want to see all values. There we go. Finish. So we have our new input control. Alright, I'll right click on here, format chart. We'll hide when this formula is true. We'll select month view equals margin %. Okay. Change that. It disappears just as we expect. Do the same thing in the other table. Format chart. We'll hide it when it equals volume. Month view equals volume. It disappeared as we expected. Very nice. And we'll just drag it right. happens to be over here, approximately. Yeah, so now we have it. We have a lot of analytics on this page that are interactive. We can dynamically hide them. We can use them as filters. I'll do that as well. I'll say right click here, linking, add element link, and we'll do that for the whole page. Finish. So now if I want to select Florida, you can see it all filters down to Florida. Set it back, everything looks good. So with the dynamic displaying of these analytics would be the same way you would use to hide and display legends like I did in the other dashboard. So you can see there's some things in here that they're not like out of the box features. There's no like conditional formatting in a chart. You have to kind of trick it into doing that, hiding and displaying analytics. Again, you're using the variables and formulas and the features of the analytics to hide and display as you need to. So there's a lot of things here that you can do. Like I said, they're not out of the box, but they do work very well. And again, as you saw, there's no coding here. So that is going to conclude what we are going to do is show us for the building of the analytics. And I think that's going to wrap up just about this, but let's get back to our presentation and see where we were. Okay, and all right, so just to talk about it. CCG, we've got expertise not just in web intelligence, but all the tools we talked about. I mean, we couldn't compare, the Design Studio or dashboards if we didn't have experience with them already, or same thing with Tableau. So we have experience in those. We can help out. We can help with best practices for dashboards and analytics in general, and not just help you implement and help you upgrade. We can also work with your staff to make them better BI developers as well. And of course, we do provide end-to-end services all the way from database creation, ETL, to the presentation layer. And for whatever tool set you use. Again, we're agnostic. We're not just SAP, but we're a big SAP partner. I work on the SAP channel. Feel free to go ahead and just email us there at info@ccgbi.com, and one of our staff, one of our SAP team members, will definitely be able to answer your questions. You can see my LinkedIn profile there, and of course, stay tuned. Visit our CCGBI YouTube channel, because we're going to be adding more of these advanced analytic videos. We're creating a whole series on these. So once again, I appreciate your time, and we look forward to our next webinar.